type of mindset we should have. And there are four things that Paul kind of lists for us that can help to sturdy our minds. Because let me tell you something, so much has been going on since last we talked. I don't know if I shared with you, but I asked some of you to pray for members of my family, the Cotton family there in Middle Georgia. We had four deaths in that family. Three of them COVID related. Four brothers passed away all within a month. Four brothers, and three of those cases COVID related, and it just, you know, six other family members diagnosed with COVID. Four brothers. I mean, just a horrific experience. I grew up listening to them sing. They had an international singing group and quartet. So I grew up around these people and admired them. They were heroes for me as a boy growing up. And just to see that happening is so much that can affect you mentally, particularly during this time of quarantine. Therapists and counselors are talking about how their calls have just grown exponentially, some 100-fold, because this quarantine can affect you mentally if you're not careful. And that's why I feel so drawn to Philippians in this time, because if you're not careful, depression can creep in on you. Some of the things that you want to do not going to be accomplished. Listen to the media every day. 107,000 people dead from this pandemic, and so it can really, really, really work on you if you're not careful. You know, some people can't maneuver like they want to, stuck in the house. There are people just miserable being in the house, working from home. Students doing virtual learning. These things can be traumatic, to say the least. And so I'm hoping that through these morning Dew sessions and through Hope TV, that just can help you, that you can get a word of hope. I'm so blessed by all the comments that we get on a daily basis. I mean, thousands of comments daily where people talk about how Hope TV has inspired them and helped to solidify them. And it brings tears to my eyes because I never expected, I never saw this. But I'm telling you, God is a keeper. God is a keeper. God is a keeper. And so Paul, and you don't know it, but even your comments, they help my mindset. You know, when I feel the sense of apathy creeping in or indifference that makes you wonder, does your life matter? Does the ministry make a difference? You know, do people care? Does the ministry have purpose and meaning? And just to get those of you who come on here regularly, just to encourage and say, keep going and go ahead. You don't know what it means, because it makes me know that the devil's not going to get me apathetic, and the devil's not going to shut me up. The message is going to continue. Hallelujah. I said the message is going to continue. And Paul gives us four principles today, four movements, as the late I.R. Clark, the great homiletian who taught at ITC, would call them. Four movements. Henry Mitchell would call them movements. Dr. Henry Mitchell, who taught homiletics there at ITC as well. But four movements that I think can help us constitute what I want to call a quarantine mindset. And the first movement I see in this text is what I want to call dividends of following the Lord. That's the first point. Dividends of following the Lord. You know, I use that word intentionally because I want you to see. We typically think about dividends relative to finances. You know, what are the dividends? You know, if I put something in, if I put money away in the bank, if I buy a stock, what are the dividends? What's the reward? You know, what's the outcome? What the income? What do I gain? What's the interest on it? And I want to use that word not just for alliterative purposes, but that word stuck out of my spirit because people get excited about dividends when they deal with fiscal and financial institutions, or dividends when it relates to something that's in the in the regulatory and money systems of the world. But I came to tell you too, brothers and sisters, that there's some dividends that come with following the Lord. I'm telling you, there's some dividends. I don't want us to be so more excited about fiscal dividends than we do eternal dividends. There are some dividends that come when we follow the Lord. And Philippians chapter 2, I want to share the dividends, some of what Paul talks about here. And I'm using Eugene Peterson's message paraphrase for our devotional. Look what he says. He says, check it out. If you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ. Stop right there. Stop there. Stop there. Just stop there for a second. So that lets us know who he's talking to, and I like that because he really indirectly gives us stipulations for who's eligible to read this. Paul is clear about whose business this chapter is relating to. The way that's phrased, it lets you know if you've not gotten anything out of following the Lord, then this word is not for you. You won't understand this. He says, but there are some of you, he qualifies the audience. He says, if you've got anything from the Lord, because he opens up just the chapter, if you've got anything from the Lord, to see whose antennas are going to rise in full gear. If you've ever gotten anything from the Lord, he wants to know who's going to go to full attention. Whose hair crawls up on their arms, who gets chill bumps. It's almost when I was in school back in the day before they had all this modern technology, the teacher had an attendance roll, had an attendance book. Everybody's name was in the book, but we didn't have iPads or phones, and she would go by the attendance book in the roster, call the name, put a check. When they call your name, you say present. You weren't there, you didn't say anything, and they mark absent. And this is what Paul seems to do in this first verse of the second chapter. He tends to call the roll. Who here has got anything from the Lord? Present, absent. If you're present, or if you're going to answer yes to that, he says, then I'm talking to you. He wants to qualify the recipient. He wants to qualify to whom the rest of these principles will be bequeathed. Because what Paul is suggesting here is that there are some of you who may not have gotten anything out of the Lord. And if that's you, that's no need to wasting my time or yours, because this won't make sense to you. But if there's anybody who's in the building, if there's anybody who's reading, or who's ever got anything from the Lord, then you are eligible to get the rest of the revelations. And I want to ask y'all a question as you're watching right now. Is there anybody here who can testify that I've got some dividends from following the Lord? I'm trying not to be preaching and get ahead of myself, but I want to just bring that to your recollection, because too often we focus on what is going to happen, what God is going to do in the future. But Paul says, let me ask you a question. Has anything ever received, if you've gotten anything out of following the Lord? He speaks in past tense. Has God ever done anything for you? If God has ever allowed you to receive anything, then this message is for you. And before I get to what the message is, I will just ask you a question. Can you testify I've got something from the Lord? That God has given me something. And I think that's so apropos during these times. Oh, thank you, Lord, because what happens is during these times, if you're not careful, you can focus on what's coming and be looking to what's coming. And if nothing doesn't come, you're frustrated. If nothing doesn't come, you're angry. Nothing doesn't come, you're anxious. But Paul says, but if you've ever gotten anything of the Lord, just to remind us of past tense realities. And if you've ever had a past tense experience with God, if you ever had a past tense dividend that you received from the Lord, that'll make you show up and say, I'm present. And let me tell you why you got to recollect those past dividends from the Lord. Because when the present struggle comes, that even in the presence of disease, I got past tense dividends. And because I got past tense dividends, the past tense dividends help me to coast and cope with the present tense disease. Because I've had some past tense victories, I can handle the present tense virus. Because I've had some past tense commodities, I can handle the present tense calamities. And I want to know here today, have you ever got anything from the Lord? I thank God for the dividends. As a matter of fact, if God never gives me another dividend, I can't hold my head down. I can't hold my head in shame or agony or pain. I've got to learn how to declare Lord, if you never do another thing for me, you've already been better to me than I've been to myself. And I need to pause for a moment because so often we get so caught up in what we're going through now that it's a slap in God's face to forget all the times God has provided, to forget all the times God has made a way, to forget all the times God has delivered and healed and set free. Look, even if things are not the way you want them to be right now, can you testify I've had some past dividends? And because I can recollect past dividends, I got faith in my future destiny. Because God would not have given me past dividends if He didn't have a future and a preferred future and a destiny that awaits me. And so when I was awakened this morning to see the virgin light of a brand new day, I understand that past dividends help me to face any present tense of difficulties. So you be encouraged, because you can have a quarantine mindset when you understand that there have been some dividends that have come with you following the Lord. That following the Lord does not just pay off after a while. When I was a boy, they would sing a song, serving the Lord will pay off after a while. And that's true, eschatologically speaking. When we get to heaven, we talk about having two wings and putting on our long white robes and wearing our crowns. Paul says, henceforth there's laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me, and not to me only, but unto all them that love His appearing. I thank God for a crown that awaits me. I thank God for a mansion that's mine. He says, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I'm going to prepare a place for you. If I go prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. I thank God for the mansion that awaits me. But can I share something with you? All blessings are not eschatological. Some blessings are existential. My God, serving the Lord does not just pay off after a while. Serving the Lord will bring some dividends right here and right now. And I'm here to tell you that even in the middle of the quarantine, dividends are being paid. Did you hear me? Even when the economy is fluctuating, dividends are being paid. Can I tell you something? God does not need the stock market to get you a dividend. God does not rely on insider trading in order to get you a dividend. God does not need NASDAQ or the Dow Jones to solidify your dividend. God can give you a dividend come hell or high water. When the economy is topsy-turvy, when conditions aren't favorable, God can get a dividend to His people. And that's the first thing I want to tell you. This quarantine mindset, it should be based on dividends of following the Lord. But that's not just the dividends of following the Lord. That's point one. And there's another point. There's another movement I see here. Y'all forgive me. I haven't even gotten to the verse, but there was so much meat on that bone. The dividends of following the Lord. The second thing I want to share with you is deliverance because of love. I talked about the dividends of following the Lord, but I want to talk about the difference because of love. That's the difference because of love. That's difference because of love. What do you mean the difference because of love? Look at the verse again. The difference because of love. It's a difference in our lives because of love. Look what he said, the second clause. It says, if you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ, that's the dividends of following the Lord. And you can fill in the blank on what those dividends are. Don't y'all get me started, because I can preach a whole sermon just on that one clause. If you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ, that's dividends of following the Lord. But let me show you the difference because of love. He says, if His love, that is, if His love has made a difference in your life, if His love has made a difference in your life. First, he talks about the dividends of following the Lord, but now he shifts to the difference because of love. Listen what he says. If you want to know who I'm talking to, if you want to know who my focus is on, if you want to know who the following principles will be pertaining, to whom these following principles are given, please know I'm clear on who my audience is. Paul says, I'm not wasting my time on anybody, because you can drive yourself trying to convince people. But if I got to convince you about the dividends, if I've got to convince you about the difference that love makes, then I don't want to waste my time, because you should be able to agree. I want to tell you up front that if His love has made a difference in your life, he says, That should shift your mindset. If his love has made a difference in your life, he says, then what I want you to know, I've got some stuff I want to give you. But before I can give it to you, I need you to absorb this in your spirit. And that's perhaps why he can handle incarceration so well, because he looks at the dividends of following the Lord. See, if he looks at the definitiveness of the jail cell and the definitiveness of his bonds and his chains, it'll shift his whole spirit. But he says, I got dividends. I'm locked up, but I still got dividends. And he says, I realize now that there's a difference in my life because of the love of God. I preached about the love of God this past Friday in our Deeper Dive podcast. And I want to tell you that you're so loved. And I thank God for his love. It's so important right now that we don't forget the love of God. That we don't forget the love of God. That we don't forget the love of God. I'm here to tell you that you cannot forget the love of God. Because if you forget that God loves you, if you forget that reality, and you don't take that in your spirit, if you're not careful, you can look at so much around you that will make you wonder and think about his love and question his love. If you love him so much, why are all these things happening? But you got to look at the difference in your life that love has made. And I'm so glad that his love has made a difference in my life. Oh, I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea heard my despairing cry, and from the waters he lifted me. Now safe am I. You know what it was that brought me here? It wasn't my dad, it wasn't my mama, it wasn't my siblings and my grandparents. It wasn't my degree, it wasn't my portfolio. It wasn't my network or my network. Can I tell you why I've gotten where I am in life? Because his love lifted me. It was love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. And that's why I can hang in here now. Because love has made a difference. Love lifted me from the doldrums. Love snatched me from the claws of the demonic. And his love will make a difference in your life. Can somebody type right now, I thank him for his love. Somebody thinking right now, love made a difference in my life. Somebody type right now, love lifted me. When nothing else could help me, love lifted me. Y'all got to forgive me, but I'm grateful for his love. I want to make sure you get this in your spirit, because when you're saturated with thoughts of God's love, it shifts your mindset from labor. It shifts your mind from limitations. It shifts your mind from what you've lost. It shifts your mind from lack. It shifts your mind from those things that are lackadaisical. When you think about the love of God, hallelujah. Let me tell you that dividends are following the Lord, but there's a difference in our lives because of love. And these things should shape our mindsets for the quarantine. But not only does Paul talk about dividends of following the Lord, and not only does he mention the deliverance, the difference because of love. The third thing Paul talks about here is the determination to live. There's determination to live. There's determination to live. I talked about the dividends of following the Lord, the difference because of love. But now he talks about determination to live. There it is in the verse. As he puts the verse back up, and I want you to see this verse again. He talks about right here in Philippians chapter 2. He says, if you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ, dividends of following the Lord. If his love has made any difference in your life, the difference because of love. He says, if being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, do me a favor. Do me a favor. He says, here's where I want you to live. I want you to live by being in the community of the Spirit. I want you to live by having a heart. I want you to live by caring. He says, here's what I want you to do. He says, I want you to agree with each other. I want you to love each other. He says, I want you to be deep-spirited. My God, deep-spirited. Not deep emotional, but deep-spirited. If you care, agree with each other. Love one another. Be deep-spirited. Listen, don't push your way to the top. Don't push your way to the top. Don't just try to sweet talk your way to the top. Put yourself aside. He said, what I want you to do, I want you to live in such a way that you're part of a community. I want you to live in such a way where your heart shows. I want you to live in such a way that your caring nature shows. I want you to be in agreement. I want you to love each other. I want you to be deep spirited. I want you to not push your way to the front. Stop trying to talk your way to the top. Oh, God, you don't have to push your way to the front. Ooh, some people go through extreme notice. Some people go through extreme faith, extreme measures to be noticed. Some people go through extreme measures just to be noticed. But can I tell you something? But when you walk in your purpose and in your favor, you don't have to go through extreme notices and extreme notice just to be recognized. You don't have to go to extreme measures to be noticed. When you live and you have a determination to live and you live on purpose, all you got to do is just show up. Whew. Let me tell you something. When you live, when you're determined to live, to be deep spirited, to show your heart, you don't have to connive. You don't have to steal. You don't have to have a crab in the barrel mentality. You don't have to unscrew anybody else's light bulb in order to make yours shine bright. You don't have to be on the defensive. You don't have to fight. You don't have to go through extreme notice, just extreme measures just to be noticed. All you got to do is show up. Oh my God, don't y'all get me started. I said some folks go through extreme measures to be noticed. But when you're authentic, all you got to do is show up. When you live authentically, that's tweetable, that's YouTubeable, that's periscopable, that's Instagrammable, that's Facebookable. Oh God, that's household appable. All you got to do is just show up. When you are walking in your purpose and have the determination to live, to show your heart, to be deep spirited, to be caring, to be a part of a spirit-filled community, you don't have to go through extreme measures to be noticed. My God, just live and be authentic. And you live in your authenticity, you'll just show up. Let me tell you something. When you show up, he'll show up. Oh God, see, somebody has not received your blessings because God has blessings ordained for you. And all you got to do is show up. The blessings are assigned to you. But the challenge that many of us having is because we've forgotten who we are. And we're presenting our inauthentic selves, but the blessings are assigned to the authentic you. And so one reason why many blessings are not accompanying what you arrive is because you have not arrived. Your inauthentic self has arrived. But when you strip yourself of your inauthenticity, when you strip yourself of the desire to be and please and do and become, and then strip yourself rather of the desire to try to show with these extreme measures, all you got to do is just show up. Let me say it one more time. Some folks go through extreme measures to be noticed. But when you are authentic and have made a determination to live, all you got to do is just show up. My God, don't y'all make me run. Can anybody testify? I showed up and doors got open. I showed up and he made a way out of no way. I showed up and I got something I didn't qualify for. Some of you got a job you didn't qualify for. You weren't credentialed. You weren't certified. Other people had more experience. They had more tenure. And as people looking at you right now, they think I got more degrees. I got more skills. I got more certificates. I got more formal training. How did they get to where they are and I didn't get it? Can I tell you how? Because when they were in school, you were in school too. My God. They were in school by study. You were in school for learning how to show up. And because you showed up, you got a job that you weren't properly credentialed for. Am I talking right? Because you showed up, the money came to where you were. Because you showed up, God had already appointed and anointed your footsteps and your destiny for such a time as this. Your blessing is assigned to you. My God, your blessing knows you. So no wonder many of us are not blessed. Because the blessing is looking for you, but don't know who you are. My God. You know, it's funny. I heard a comedian say a while ago that the prophet wanted to prophesy to a young lady about who her husband was and give her a prophecy that God had spoken. But when he looked out in the audience, oh my God, because of the hair she had bought and the eyelashes that were hanging to the top of her forehead, my God, she bleached her skin and had Botox and injections and pads and shots everywhere. Lord have mercy. And green eyes. My God, the prophet didn't know who the prophecy was for because God gave him a prophecy of her, but she didn't show up. Let me tell you something. Maybe that's why some of our blessings are not coming, because the blessing is looking for you, but you ain't there. I came to tell you, if you just get there, if you just make a determination to live, you and I don't have to connive. We don't have to backstab. We don't have to hobnob. My God, just be authentic. Be yourself. Strip yourself of your desire to be anything else than what you are. Your blessing is assigned to you. God will never anoint counterfeits. God does not anoint counterfeits. God anoints who you are. Can I tell y'all something? I'm so glad I've been trying to show up. Since I was 17 years of age, I showed up. When I started pastoring, my family members said he won't make it 6 months. Y'all not fitting me here. They said he won't make it 6 months. Can I tell you something? The 6 months that my family members said I wasn't gonna make it, I'm talking about close family, said he won't make it 6 months. Can I tell you something? Those 6 months have turned into 30 years in 6 months. Can I tell you why? Because when they were talking, I decided to show up. All God wants is your yes. And if you give God your yes and make a determination to live, it does not matter who says no. All you got to do is show up. Because I've been trying to show up for 30 years, he's been showing up. But even when I was wrong, and even when I was outside, even when I didn't do everything God told me to do and broke the heart of God, in my immaturity, in my selfishness, in my carnality, in my immaturity, in my sin, in my brokenness, in my shame and pain, my God, that God, because I have given God a yes, my God, and tried to show up and preach through my pain, preach through my hurt, preach through everything I went through, good and bad, because I told God and God told me to do. I said, yes, God. He said, there are only 2 times that I want you to preach. I said, okay, God, what is it, Sunday morning, Wednesday? He said, no. I said, well, when do you want me to preach? Convocation and revival? He said, no. I said, okay, well, God, when do you want me to preach? He said 2 times. Tell me when. If you tell me the 2 times you want me to preach, I'll do it. He said, will you do it? I said, yes, God. He said, the 2 times, only 2 times I want you to preach. I said, when? He said, in season and out of season. My God. He said, that's only 2 times I want you to preach, in season and out of season. And can I tell you something? For 32 years, I've been trying to show up. Whether I was up, down, good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent, apathetic, whatever you do, keep on showing up and make a determination to live. Child of God, I'm telling you, you're going to live. In quarantine, show up. In confinement, show up. Virtual learning, show up. The business shuts down, shut up. Make a determination to live. I'm going to show up. I don't have to push my way to the top. I don't have to claw my way to the top. All I got to do is live and be a part of a spirit community and be of one mind and show my heart. And if I show my heart, my God, if my heart shows up, even my work doesn't show up. If my heart show up, even if my life and my actions don't show up, let my heart be there. My God, not my bank account, not my desire for prestige and popularity, but make sure your heart shows up. And if your heart shows up, and it's pure in heart, none but the pure in heart shall see God. Make sure you show up and have a determination to live. Lord, have mercy. Somebody type in right now, I'm showing up. I'm showing up. I'm showing up. And if you show up, he'll show up on time. I said, show up. Thank you, John P. Key. If you show up, he'll show up. I said, if you show up, he'll show up. And can I tell you something about God? That even the times I didn't show up, he still showed up because he knew my heart, because he knew my before, because he didn't judge me based upon where I was in the then. He knew my future, and he knew I would show up. Some blessings didn't come because what I did then, God knew where I was going. My God. But just say, yes, Lord, I'm showing up. I'm showing up. I'm going to live. I'm living on purpose. Whatever you assign to my life, I'm not going to call. It's not about me. I'm showing up for you and for your glory. My God, you ain't got to sweet talk. You ain't got to claw your way to the top. Just show up with a yes. Oh, my God, my God. I see you. I see you. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yet God wants a yes. Yes to his will. Yes to his way. When the cares of life weigh you down, just know he's making you. My God, he's molding you too. Come what may, my answer will still be yes. It's still yes. Show up, make a determination to live. I got to move on. And so, how do I have a quarantine mindset? I have a quarantine mindset when I understand the dividends, number one, of following the Lord. The dividends of following the Lord. How do I get a quarantine mindset? Not only through the dividends of following the Lord, but I can get a quarantine mindset, point two, when I understand the difference because of love. The difference because of love. How do I get a quarantine mindset? When I have the number three, the determination to live. The determination to live gives me the quarantine mindset. But not only can we get a quarantine mindset, number one, with understanding the dividends of following the Lord. Not only can we get the quarantine mindset of understanding the difference because of love. Not only can we get the quarantine mindset in understanding and having the determination to live. But fourth and finally, we can have a quarantine mindset when we have dedication to lifting. Dedication to lifting. Dedication to lifting. Dedication to lifting. Put the verse up and I'm gonna close. I got too happy. I'm over my time. Y'all tired of me. There's dedication to lift. I wish I can get ahead of this, but he says, if you got anything out at all out of following Christ, that's the dividends of following the Lord. If his love has made any difference in your life, that's the difference because of love. If being in a community of the Spirit means something to you, if you have a heart, if you care, do me a favor, agree with each other, love each other, be deep-spirited friends. Don't push your way in the front. Don't sweet talk your way to the top. That's the determination to live. But then he says, I want you to have a dedication to lifting. Dedication to lifting. Here it is. Here's the quarantine mindset. Here it is. Here it is. Here's the dedication to lifting. He says, because if you show up, I'm gonna bless you. You ain't gotta do it yourself. Here's what you focus on. Put yourself aside. Yeah, in this quarantine, in this confinement. Stop making it all about you. You want to have the right mindset for the quarantine? Help others get ahead. Don't be obsessed with getting your own advantage. What makes it about you? Well, life is all about you want to win and what benefits you and how it helps you and what have you done for me lately? He said, no. Forget yourselves long enough to lend a helping hand. See, the problem right now in quarantine, why many of us are moping and groping, because it's all about me. All woe is me. All Hades Columbus. All what I'm going through. When am I coming out? And what you don't realize, one of the best ways to avoid melancholy is one of the best ways to avoid depression and stress and anxiety is to serve. People don't realize that. One of the best ways to improve your mental health and your emotional stability is by helping somebody else. Stop focusing on your own advantage and ask yourself the question, what can I do to bless somebody else? How can I volunteer? How can I serve? How can I lift? What you don't recognize right now is those of you logged on right now, every time you help, every time you send out, my God, shares and watch parties and to share the links, you're trying to lift other people. It's very easy you can get on here and just enjoy this word for yourself and be blessed and eat and soak it all in. But God gives us nutrition so we can run and help others. Many of you have been watching, but my question to you, when have you tried to share what's good with somebody else? And maybe what God is doing in this quarantine is ask us a question. Is it all about the clothes in your closet? Maybe I'm giving you time in the quarantine to clean out the clothes that you haven't worn the last 3 or 4 years. Because maybe if you lend a helping hand and be dedicated to lifting. See, it's called lift as you climb. What good is it if you're going higher and you're not bringing anybody with you? You got to lift as you climb. You got to lift as you climb. You got to lift as you climb. And oh, brothers and sisters, if I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with the word of song, if I can show somebody that he's traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian, if I can spread love's message to a world abroad, then my living shall not be in vain. When was the last time you lifted somebody else? Do you just expect God to lift you? My question to you as we close this morning Dew Devotional and think about the rest of the year, if there's some things you want God to lift you out of, my question to you, who have you lifted out of some certain situations? That which you've done to the least of these, my brothers, you've done it to me. Who can you serve during this time? If you're a member of a church, how are you volunteering? Can you lift the older people? Can you call the sick and shut in? Have you called the church office to ask of your particular church membership, your deacon, how can I serve? Even though we're not having public worship, who can I help to lift? Because that's the quarantine mindset. Don't make it all about you. Maybe you can serve in a polling precinct. Maybe you can help somebody's political campaign. Who have you lifted? Has it all been about your groceries, your mask, your hand sanitizer, your clothes, your food, your eating? Have you thought about who else may need lifting during this time? Stop putting yourself to the top. Stop sweet talking and forcing your way. Stop trying to get advantage. Stop you trying to come up and don't care who comes up with you. Because when Jesus was lifted, he was lifted so you and I could be lifted. Lift Jesus, but lift others. And lift your eyes to the hills from what comes your help. And if you lift others and lift Jesus, can I tell you something? He'll lift you. So have the right quarantine mindset. I tell you point one, there are dividends of following the Lord. Think about that. The dividends of following the Lord. I tell you point two, there's a difference because of love. Love makes the difference. I told you point three, there is the determination to live. That you live and you share and you be of one mind and be part of the community. I also tell you there's dedication to lifting. And if you lift during this quarantine, I prophesy over your life that when you get to 21, some stuff you thought you'd never be lifted out of, God's going to lift you and give you a higher trajectory. I got to log off now, but as always, remember this. If you'll be good to God, God will be good to you. Keep the right mindset.